Welcome into Saints Now. I'm your host, Will Scott. Soon we'll be joined by producer Trace Gerard. An exciting show ahead. We're talking about Saints undrafted free agents that could make the Saints 53-man roster. And for the Saints, they brought in 66 total players to rookie minicamp. NFL team's going to have a 53-man roster set at the end of the 2022 preseason. And you look at New Orleans, had a very solid draft class, obviously making all the moves, being very aggressive in the draft. They also have a very solid UDFA class. A couple of guys, including Abram Smith, who we'll get to a little bit later, that were expected to get drafted, that did not get drafted, and the Saints really getting a steal, certainly out of a couple guys. And before we get into those UDFAs, if you're excited for the Saints 2022 season, go ahead and share this video on Twitter right now. So here's how you do that. You're going to click the share button below this video, select the Twitter icon. You're going to tag our producer at TraceGerard48, and then eat that W. Let's go. I'm not going to do it on air right now. If the Saints win week 1, I'll do it. How about that? And then you're going to click tweet. Again, use eat that W, click tweet, tag at TraceGerard48. If you do that, we're going to give you a shout out on the next show, and Trace is going to retweet your tweet. Now let's get into Saints undrafted free agents that could make the 53-man roster, and we start with the best name in all of football, Smoke Monday. You don't want that smoke, Carolina Panthers, because Smoke Monday is an absolute steal as UDFA. You know, I thought he was going to be a day 3 pick, a 5th or 6th round pick. He goes undrafted. The Saints get this guy. Really stood out to me from watching him at Auburn last season. He was going toe-to-toe with some of the best wide receivers in the SEC. Big play mentality. He's a very competitive, hungry player and can read quarterbacks really well. Just has to work on his coverage skills a little bit more. Some of the wide receivers he went up against, and may I remind you, he's going up against future NFL wideouts every single week in the SEC. Sometimes he'd allow those guys to get an extra step. That's something he has to work on, but certainly a lot of potential for Smoke Monday, someone that I think Trace and I both really high on. Here's what he did last season at Auburn. 1 interception, 9 tackles for loss, someone who put up 44 tackles, 5 pass breakups, and again, really a standout player in the SEC, a 2-year starter at Auburn. He's very versatile. He spent time in the box, over the slot and deep. He's long, athletic, competitive. Like I said, just has to work on his transitions. And the Saints defense obviously very solid, right? So you can make the argument because of that Smoke Monday might have an uphill battle to make the 53-man roster. But I certainly think he has a shot. Like I said, he was supposed to be drafted. He wasn't. It's going to be interesting to see what happens when we get into training camp and preseason games, if he can set himself apart from some of the other guys. Will Smoke Monday make the 53-man roster? Go down in the comments section and type your Y for yes or your in for no. I think he's going to make it. I'm going to type my Y for yes. Smoke Monday. That'd be a lot of fun to say if you're calling a Saints game this year. Let's get into another SEC guy, I should say Big 12 guy. That would be Abram Smith out of Baylor. Breakout season at Baylor last season. Led the Big 12 in rushing yards, 12 touchdowns on the year. And Abram Smith, someone that I thought was going to be a 4th or 5th round pick, he did not get his name called. And a reason for that, we'll get into that later, some injury concerns with Smith, but it has been a couple years since he has been injured. He said this about not getting drafted. I was going to build his whole head right there on the draft party. He's talking about Legos, as they're calling names. But my dad told me not to because I had to mingle with the people who were there at the party. This man was building a Lego set at the biggest day of his life. He's that relaxed that he wants to make Legos. That raises his stock a little bit more for me. Abram Smith, a pretty cool guy. Here's what he also said. The opportunity here is just better for me than it is anywhere else. Just being able to know that I can get the opportunity here just led me toward this area. In the end, it all worked out. Anyways, I got to pick up where I got to pick where I want it to be. I'm happy here, and I get to continue to do what I love. Taking a look at the current Saints running back depth chart, and we're still awaiting word on Alvin Kamara. Is he going to get suspended? If so, how long is he going to get suspended? And if it is somewhat of a lengthy suspension for Kamara, maybe that increases Abram Smith's chances of making this team. Like I said, a stellar season at Baylor. In his first 3 seasons at Baylor, first couple seasons there, we really didn't see much of this guy on the field. Then in 2021, absolutely outstanding, over 600 yards, 6.2 yards per carry. Second, led the Big 12 in touchdowns with 12. He says, I feel confident in my ability to take care of myself. I feel like that's why I lasted so long afterwards and why I'm going to continue to last. And I've been reading that a reason that Abram Smith went undrafted is because NFL teams were worried about his knee. He tore his ACL his sophomore year in high school. He did it again his freshman year at Baylor. But that was back in 2017. It's been 5 years since Abram Smith had a knee injury. In fact, last season he played every single game for Baylor. He was able to stay on the field. I'm not concerned about Abram Smith's knee. As a guy that's had 2 knee surgeries, since that second surgery, I haven't had knee problems since. So I think once you kind of get out of, that second surgery and start to get healthy again, that's certainly huge. And I'm confident that Abram Smith's going to be healthy. And I think Abram Smith could have an immediate impact on the Saints. We mentioned the Kamara suspension. There's a couple guys that are behind Kamara right now in the depth chart, Mark Ingram, Tony Jones Jr., that maybe Abram Smith can start over. I don't think play over. He's not going to start, obviously, anytime soon. But Abram Smith's someone that I think can make the Saints roster. He has to have a good preseason. He has to really stand out in some of those preseason games and in training camp. And Smith also brings some special teams value. And a lot of times that makes a big difference. If someone can make a special teams impact, that might be the difference between them making the team and not making the team. And my guy Trace, welcome on the program, producer Trace Gerard. Guys, we're getting so close to 7,000 subscribers. Trace, I work with Chase Sr. too here at Chat Sports. Trace, are we going to do this by the end of the day? We need 39 more.
Guys, so Will over here was saying that he wasn't going to eat a W on air. I'm going to go ahead and do it because I know we're going to hit 7K subs on this video. We need 39. I mean, look at the eat that W.
How about this? I'll do it on the next show if we get 39 subscribers today.
Well, I'm going to go ahead and do it now.
That's a Will Scott guarantee.
We're doing it this video. I know for a fact, guys, please subscribe. We're trying to bring the best Saints news, rumors, updates all off season. UDFA coverage is coming up, or more UDFA coverage, OTA coverage, all sorts of other stuff throughout the off season and during the regular season. So please, please, please be sure to subscribe.
Yeah, hit that big red sub button right now. If you're the Saints, we're going to keep you in the loop. Multiple Saints videos going out each and every single week. Let's get into our next UDFA. That would be Lucas Krull, a tight end out of Pitt. Actually pitched at Trace's alma mater, Arkansas, is on the baseball team several years back. He's had quite the journey. He goes and plays JUCO baseball after that, then goes and plays football at Florida, then he transfers to play football at Pitt. Here's what he did at Pitt last season. 6 touchdowns, 451 yards, 38 receptions. He's a baseball-first athlete most of his life, and now he's playing in the National Football League. Pretty impressive stuff. Trace, this is a guy that I think we're both excited about, an explosive tight end who certainly had a good first impression with his coaching staff.
Yeah, man, I really think that Lucas Krull really could be the most exciting UDFA that the Saints have on the roster. Don't get me wrong, I'm really, really pumped about Smoke Monday and Abram Smith. I think those guys are really talented, and I think they bring a lot of value to the team. But if we look at, the tight end situation with the Saints, they have Adam Troutman, Nick Vannett, Gardner-Johnson, and Taysom Hill running it. And I'm personally pretty excited to see how he does as a tight end, not as a quarterback role and having a little bit more of a flex, fun kind of spur of the moment role and stuff. But I think that Lucas Krull brings a lot of value here because at the end of the day, if Taysom Hill doesn't work out. I mean, he is still kind of recovering from an injury. And so I think that Lucas Krull really brings a lot of enticing size and speed. I think that he understands how to, be a good zone beater and be a good zone blocker. And I think that he, really has the ability to improve his blocking ability. His catch pass ability is obviously there. He did really well at Pitt and at Florida. I just think that, there is a little bit, more that can be done. And I think that there's a really, really high ceiling with this guy. So I think that he's a prime guy to make the 53-man roster. I'm not saying he's starting week 1, but, throw him in the rotation, and I think that he could really bring a lot of value to the offense.
And everything we've heard out of rookie minicamp, out of OTAs, is that he's really stood out, right? And I don't think he's someone that we were talking about as a potential draft pick for the Saints. He was expected to be a UDFA, but man, some of these UDFAs that don't get much hype in the draft process, they come to rookie minicamp and they're like, wow, how is this guy not drafted? Lucas Krull, I think, one of those guys. Let's talk about Taysom Hill, though, for a second down in the comments. Are you excited for Taysom Hill to play tight end? We've seen him a lot at QB the last couple years, primarily going to be a tight end this season. Saints fans, type 1 for yes or 0 for no down in the comments. Are you excited, T-Money?
I mean, personally, I'm really excited, like I said earlier. I think that this just opens up the offense a lot more. I think that it just gives it gives Adam Trautman and Nick Vannett time to rest on the sideline. It allows them to plug and play, Vannett if they want to use him more of his, Vannett with his blocking ability, and then Trautman's pass catching ability. I mean, we saw spurts of talent and stuff, but Taysom Hill kind of has it all. And so I think that it's only going to help out the offense and, really help it excel.
I absolutely agree. I'm excited to see Taysom Hill play tight end. Go down in the comments section. Let us know what you think. Let's talk about Rasheed Shaheed here, a wide receiver, someone who was just a kick return machine at Weber State. And the last two wide receivers we're talking about here in terms of UDFAs, both FCS wide receivers. And let's take a look at this current wide receiver depth chart. And the Saints are absolutely loaded at wide receiver, so it might be a little bit difficult for Shaheed to make this team. But he's the FCS all-time leader in kickoff return touchdowns. And what did we just say a few minutes ago? The difference for some of these guys might be their special teams value. This guy has more than value. I mean, value is an understatement when you're talking about Rasheed Shaheed in terms of special teams value. What he can do in kickoff returns is just unbelievable. 7 touchdowns, 2,560 yards, 29.1 average. I mean, I would love to see this guy returning kicks for the Saints. And Saints fans, you remember Trendon Holiday playing back at LSU? He was a standout for the Texans and the Broncos. Look at the impact he made in the NFL as a kick returner. Maybe Shaheed can be the next Trendon Holiday. I don't know. Trendon Holiday, one of my favorite LSU players of all time, by the way. Who do you hate the most, by the way, in the NFC South? Let me know what you think down in the comments. Is it the Falcons? Type ATL, or you can type 28-3. Is it the Panthers? Type CAR, or if it's the Bucs, type TB down in the chat. I mean, in terms of biggest threat to the Saints, it's obviously the Bucs, but hate the most, I probably got to type my ATL down in the chat. Let's get into our last UDFA, and that is Dai'Jean Dixon, a wide receiver from right down the road in Thibodaux, Louisiana, Nichols State. You love to see it, man. I've been to Thibodaux. I worked for Nichols State for a little bit, and it's great to see them getting a colonel on the Saints. Over 1,000 receiving yards last season, 8 touchdowns. He averaged over 100 yards per game in his last 2 full college seasons. Obviously, 2020, they didn't really play a full season. So I mentioned that I worked as a broadcaster at Nichols. My broadcast partner over there, the voice of the Colonels, Jack Benjamin, called him up before the show, and I'm like, Jack, what do I need to know about my guy Dai'Jean Dixon? Here's what he said. He's a possession receiver and a terrific route runner, incredible hands. I remember one drop in my 4 years calling his games. Not at all a speed demon. Ran a disappointing 4.58 at the combine and a 4.62, a little bit slower at his pro day, but he's got great physicality. He's 6'2" and a half according to his official combine listing, but he plays way bigger than that. Not afraid to take contact and work middle of the field. Has ability to abuse smaller corners and safeties. Has amazing feel for the game, like just gets it and can operate in tight windows. Not as big, but kind of reminds me of Keenan Allen. Wouldn't that be something if he became as good as Keenan Allen? And Dixon, one of the best wide receivers in Colonel's history, arguably the top wide receiver in Colonel's history. He holds the Nichols record for receiving yards, touchdowns, and receptions, surpassing Mark Carrier. And Mark Carrier played 11 seasons in the NFL. 3-time first-team All-Southland selection, recorded over 1,000 receiving yards twice, and certainly a deep threat down the field as well. I'm really excited about Dixon. He's probably the UDFA that I'm most excited about. Go down in the comments. Let me know which UDFA you are most excited to see in action this year for the Saints. Doesn't have to be someone we've talked about on today's show. Let us know down in the comments section. Who Dat Nation, appreciate you guys. Talk to you again soon.